This is Steven Gianton, New Jersey Devils. You're watching the Power Play Break, the place to talk about pucks.
Hey, everybody, back here on the Power Play Break with Kenny Albert. We were just going to talk about his days with the Baltimore Skipjacks, the American Hockey League. Kenny, so we were just discussing how you did a couple of games for the Islanders on the radio. You sent your tapes around, and the Baltimore Skipjacks, who are in the American Hockey League, offer you the position. Talk about that transition of, okay, now you're going to get the shot.
That was June of '90, and got hired by the Baltimore Skipjacks. They were the affiliate of the Washington Capitals at the time, and I just looked at it as a tremendous opportunity. And looking back, I wouldn't trade those 2 years in for anything. Right, 8-10 hour bus rides and getting in at 6, 7 in the morning, but it was tremendous. Many of the players were the same age as me at the time, and they were attempting to get to the next level as I was, and just a great group of guys. And I was hired not only to do the broadcast, but at that level, you have to do sales and marketing and PR. And, the PR and marketing was fine. The sales.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. You just mentioned sales. How were you as a salesman, Kenny?
Not good. I had 3 sponsors throughout the entire summer of '90. I'm just chomping at the bit waiting for the games to start in October. And here we are in July and August. And finally in September, training camp comes around. But for those 2 summer months, I'm sitting in an office making calls, going out. And I sold a sports bar in downtown Baltimore, a mini golf type place, a sports pavilion about 20 minutes north of the city, and a hotel gym at the Hyatt in downtown Baltimore. They both bought sponsorships from me for somewhere in the $500 range. And here's what they got. we gave them pretty much everything but ownership of the team. They got ads on the boards, ads in the game program, radio commercials, season tickets. We would do events at their venues. They got, you would think they paid like $25,000 at the time. But so sales wasn't exactly my forte, but getting to do those games, I actually thought the first game would be my last. It was October 5th, 1990. We're in Hershey, Pennsylvania for the season opener against the Hershey Bears, Flyers affiliate. And during the preseason, I had met Gene Ubriaco, the former coach of the Penguins. He had coached the Penguins the season before.
Yeah.
He was coaching Lemieux and Yager and so many of those guys. And, Gene lived in Baltimore. He had coached the Skipjacks prior. And he was a great guy, still to this day. And he volunteered to do color on some of the games. He was living in town, enjoyed coming to the games. So we did a couple of preseason rehearsal games together. And then he said, and he wasn't getting paid for any of this, he said, well, if you want, I'll go to Hershey for the first game. Great. So I wouldn't have to do the game alone. So I set up, I'm my own engineer at the time.
Yeah, got to do all
again.
It's a one-man band.
Technically challenged, as you saw earlier when I was trying to plug in some of the equipment you have here. But I set up the equipment. I'm my own engineer. Now we have a backup phone plugged into a phone jack in the booth in Hershey. If there's a problem, as far as the connection goes, the radio station can call you and let you know that there's an issue. So I set up the equipment. Now the phone jacks to plug in the radio equipment are down by our feet. They're on the ground. Hershey's an unbelievable building. It was the old building.
Yep. Right next to the amusement park.
Right next to the park. 9,000 people. The whole building smells like chocolate. Game gets underway. Here I am. My first, even though I had done some Islander games, first professional game as a full-time broadcaster, and things are going okay, and Gene's doing color with me. In the second period, we get handed up a note from the press box in front of us. Call your station, you're off the air. Now, what happened was one of us kicked out the phone jack, but then when the station was trying to call us,
the phone wasn't picking up.
Well, we have headsets on, and the crowd's going crazy. We can't hear a phone ringing, so we have no idea. So again, Joel Blumberg, who I mentioned earlier, the next day I'm telling him what happened. He says, go to Radio Shack. For $2.50, you could buy a red light that you could plug into the phone, and when the phone rings, you'll see the red.
Yeah.
It'll illuminate. So we did that the next day, plugged the phone jack back in, got on the air. But, 2 great seasons. Robbie Laird was our head coach, who's a longtime scout with the LA Kings. Barry Trotz was our assistant coach and my road roommate, by the way. The broadcaster and assistant coach would room together on the road.
That had to be quite an experience. I mean, he's a character to begin with in the NHL for the Nashville Predators as their only head coach. I mean, what were some of the funny anecdotes with him?
Well, we did this for 2 years, and even midway through the second season when he was named head coach, he said, I don't want to break the karma. We're still rooming together. So he's gone on and had a great career, 15 years as head coach in Nashville. But we were roommates on the road for 2 seasons, and every time I see him, he talks about the Holiday Inn in Utica, New York, where we didn't have any heat in the room, and it was snowing outside, and we had to sleep not only in our clothing but in our winter parkas. He'll still talk about that. Double beds, of course. He'll talk about the time where I would do a pregame interview with him, and he said something that didn't come out the right way, and it was pretty funny, whatever it was. And I, of course, at the time, 23 years old, then took the tape and played it for some of the players. Hey, did you hear what the assistant coach said? It just came out funny. And he found out about it. He said, I'll get you back. So 4 months later, we fly to the Maritime provinces, to Nova Scotia, Newfoundland.
Okay.
And
up by Halifax.
Halifax. And we're in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Small plane. We're pretty much the only people on it. And I knew there was an issue with the luggage because all the hockey equipment had to go. That was the priority on the plane, the equipment and the sticks. Some of our luggage was not going to make it on, and we were supposed to get it later on or the next day. So we get off the plane on the tarmac in Sydney, and an official-looking gentleman comes up to me with a clipboard. Is this you? I identify myself. You have to come with me. I thought it had to do with my luggage because, unlike the players who basically brought a toothbrush and an extra pair of socks, I have 2 huge suitcases with a different
like
dress shirt, different shirt for every game, 3 suits, and literally the players had a carry-on bag, and that was it. I had 2 big suitcases, nothing on wheels yet, so I'm lugging these things plus the radio equipment bag. So I go with this gentleman, and they start asking me, "Have you ever been arrested? Do you know anyone who's in trouble?" And they start driving around in this official-looking car. After about 10, 15 minutes, I started to realize, maybe someone's playing a joke on me. I'm not sure. So he pulls up to the hotel, the team hotel. Turns out Barry Trotz had set it up through one of the security folks with the Capitals, whose brother was the police chief up in Sydney. So I think I got the last laugh because the team bus got lost. I actually beat them to the hotel. But we still talk about that whenever we see each other.
What did that do for you, though, as far as developing your craft as an announcer, having that time down there for the 2 years?
It was just getting reps, really. Getting to do games. In college, we did basketball games. We had a club hockey team at NYU, which I actually played on, so there was no radio involvement. Didn't play very well, although I did score the first goal
in the history
of NYU.
So that's a trivia question for anybody out there.
At the old Sky Rink on 33rd Street against the College of Staten Island, coming down the right wing, a very weak wrist shot that somehow beat the goalie. He was probably screened by about 7 people. So that was December of '86. But we did the basketball games in college, which was a great experience. And just doing the 2 years with the Skipjacks, getting the reps, the practice, learning the business was huge in my opinion.
All right, we're going to take a little break here. We're going to talk about Kenny's transition to working Washington Capitals games on HTS Sports at that time, right after this.